This is your men's life coach, Rolando, here on XY Spark. It's Freedom Friday. I do hope that you guys have had a great week so far. And I just wanted to say a huge shout out to those of you who you continue to make XY Spark your place of listenership. We appreciate you. We thank you. We love you lots, guys. And listen, I just wanted to let you know that right now the program is Morning Mania. The theme is Freedom Friday. Right now, the Weather Network is reporting, that it's a cool minus 19 on the outside, feels like minus 27, and it is bright and sunny on the outside. How are things where you are? How is the weather? I hope that your weather is going fantastic. We continue to remind you that Morning Mania is a program designed to provide a meal in the morning for men on the move with daily motivation, inspiration, and life coaching tips that seek to motivate, empower, and nurture a changed mindset. I am your men's life coach, Rolando. How is it going? What have you been struggling with? What are the chains that has kept you bounded? What are the thoughts that has kept you grounded? What are the behaviors that has stopped you from growing? And what are the decisions that you've made in your life that you can't seem to get away from? You can't seem to let loose. You can't seem to overcome. And if you are like me, there was a time in my life when I struggled to be free from resentment, struggled to be free from pain, struggled because in my mind I thought if I held on to this resentment, if I held on to this anger, if I held on to the way I feel towards this other person, then they would get it eventually. But the reality is, they never did. And the longer I held on to it, is the more and more it eats away at me from the inside out. So, have you been holding on to resentment? Have you been holding on to anger? Do you think that maybe your life would have taken a turn into a more positive direction if you would have made that decision to let that anger and let that resentment go? Well, today is Freedom Friday. And as you go off into the weekend, I just wanted you to reflect on some things that you can do to free yourself from these chains that has kept you stuck. So here are some recommendations for you. Recommendation number one is that if you are going to be free, you have to recognize that it takes a lot more energy for you to hold on to hatred, anger, and resentment than it does for you to let it go. So I would like you to start thinking about ways that you can let this go. My second recommendation to be free is to recognize that sometimes you need to be true to yourself by saying, I think I've suffered long enough. Because when we hold on to resentment and anger, what we're doing is we're harming ourselves emotionally and psychologically. And in order for us to release that, it's important for us to come to that place where we're able to say, hey, I think I've suffered long enough. I've paid my dues, and it's time to move on. You see, there is such a beautiful process that takes place when we know in our minds and in our hearts that we are no longer carrying this burden. This thing is no longer like a heavy weight on my back. This thing is no longer keeping me back from growing. This thing is no longer hindering my ability to be happy, to be free, to be relaxed. Another recommendation I'd like to make, if you are going to be free, is you have got to ask yourself the question, do I think I deserve better? Do you think you deserve better? Someone might have violated you. Someone might have done you wrong. You might be dealing with the pain of your past. You might be like me who has been scarred from a divorce. You might be like me who has been dealing with a lot of trauma and grief. But you also can be like me and step out of that world. Sometimes you can't do it by yourself. Sometimes you need a boost. Sometimes you need a push. Sometimes you need somebody to take you by the hand and say, come with me. Whatever it takes, I would like you to think about what steps you are going to take this weekend that's going to help you to be free. Freedom is a beautiful thing. And psychological freedom is even more beautiful, because what it does, it opens us up to experience life through a new lens. It opens us up to become at peace with ourselves. It opens us up to have healthier relationships, to be more confident, and to be more driven. You know, I never forget the book written by Rick Warren, The Purpose-Driven Life. And sometimes if we want to have that purpose-driven life, we have to be willing to break free. So this weekend, as you go off into this untried day, untried weekend, I want you to reflect and ask yourself, what can you do to be free? So please repeat with me this sentence: freedom of mind and freedom of heart and freedom of character comes from a freedom of choice, freedom of heart, freedom of mind, and freedom of character comes from freedom of choice. As you go off into this untried week, I want you to challenge yourself and say, it's time for me to be free. This is your boy Rolando here on XY Spark. Thank you for joining us. And we continue to remind you that at XY Spark, we believe that there is a spark in you.